Hello and welcome. My name is Jason Glover and I am Grey Gnome Games. 10 years ago this September, Grey Gnome Games was founded. It's gone through quite a few changes over the years, especially as to how I publish my games. But it's been a really fun journey for me. I absolutely love designing games, especially smaller games as of recently, and a lot more solo games. I've been sort of going in that direction, but I still have a lot of different types of ideas I want to get to. But the idea for this video was to just, basically congratulations, for hitting 10 years, which is a pretty big milestone for me. Very excited about that. I wanted to share that with all of you, all the fans out there. I have a little index cards here so I don't forget certain people or things I want to say. I have a little slideshow that'll be coming up that will go show all the games that have been published through Grey Gnome Games and a few games that I've published through other publishers. But basically they'll be in chronological order, and then there'll be just a bunch of various photos of me at Protospiels and other events and people that have sort of helped me along the way. And then after that, at the back end of this video, I'd like to discuss a few future ideas or plans that I have for Grey Gnome Games. But for now, I'd like to go over a few things. Grey Gnome Games, as many of you probably know, started out primarily focused on games being published via the crowdfunding platform known as Kickstarter, and sort of that's how a lot of board game publishers the last decade have gotten their start. Some have gone on to become, huge successes like Stonemaier Games and the Tiny Epic Games by Gamelin. There's quite a few more. I did 12 Kickstarters. All of them were successful. I raised a total combined a little over $300,000 on Kickstarter. Didn't make me rich. Anyone who's ran a Kickstarter knows that so much time and effort and money ends up just producing, manufacturing, and then fulfilling and shipping. Yes, I made money, but when you start to do the math as to how much you're getting paid per hour, if you start doing that type of numbers, you start realizing that you spend an awful lot of time, and anyone who's done a Kickstarter will likely vouch for what I'm saying. So a few years back, I think it was 2017, I slowly started shifting my focus away from running Kickstarters, and I started re-releasing all my games on the Game Crafter. So right now, every game that Grey Gnome Games produces is done or sold through, manufactured through the Game Crafter. So the first game that I ever created, though, was Plague the card game. Anyone who has been a fan since Plague, you're an OG. That was my first game. It was a trick taker. It was a quick, simpler game that I'd like to revisit at some point here. But really what was important for me as a designer, and maybe there's other designers listening to this, was it was a roadblock for me to actually finish a design. I kept starting a design and not finishing it because my ideas or concepts were pretty grand. So I've eventually just sort of decided, let's make something smaller and simple, a little trick-taking game, so something I can complete. And once I was able to complete that, the rest is history. I got the bug. I'd been creating games for the last 10 years, pretty much 3 to 4 games a year. So yes, Plague is where I got my start. Like I said, I ran 12 Kickstarters. All of them were successful. I just kind of got burnt out, though. I was running 2 to 3 a year between, just fulfilling them all myself. I didn't use any fulfillment centers or anything along that lines. I actually had the game shipped to my house. There'll be some pictures in the slideshow. You'll see the FedEx truck being backed into my driveway and just pallets and pallets of games being put into my garage that I would then have the help of my family to package them all up, and friends, and then print labels and ship and all that craziness. So it was a lot. It was very stressful on me. So that's why I've gone the route that I've gone with having my entire library on the Game Crafter, and that's been very successful for me, and I'm pretty happy about it. I got a few games on there that are over 1,000 sales, which for me, being I consider myself pretty much the, if you look up independent board game designer / publisher, hopefully I'm right in that realm. I'd be a picture you'd find, because I really like that niche that I'm in. And I really enjoy being able to connect with my community on more of a personal level. But anyways, yeah, over 1,000 sales on a print-on-demand service to me is very successful. Let's see here. Let's look at some people that I'd like to thank. Obviously, my family, my kids were a huge help putting games together. Many of you who've been following Grey Gnome Games for a long time have seen me post pictures or videos of my kids putting games in boxes, like huge assembly lines, and their cousins and friends of the family. So big shout out to my family. Secondly, I'd like to thank JT Smith and the Game Crafter and all the folks over there, Heather and Jamie and Tavis. Without the Game Crafter, there would be no Grey Gnome Games. I used them from the beginning for a lot of my early prototypes and even some of my components when I was actually building my games myself, like a crazy person in my basement. And just the whole community around the Game Crafter itself has been just a huge force for me. A lot of people just kind of rallied behind Grey Gnome early, and it's sort of allowed me to grow my fan base organically. So a big shout out to them. There's a few reviewers early on that were very influential to me and helped me get my my name out there a little bit, and that would be Jeff King from All Us Geeks and Cyrus Kirby from also known as Father Geek. Both of them reviewed a lot of my earlier games and interviewed me on their podcasts, and it was a big push for me and really helped me out early on, so a big thanks to them. I also like to thank Chris Leader, who's the designer behind Trainmaker and obviously many other games that he's kind of blowing up. But he lives locally, and we used to play test a lot of each other's games. And I signed his Trainmaker to a contract a few years back, and there was another successful Kickstarter. So big thanks to Chris. You'll see a few pictures of him, and you'll see some funny video of him at the end of this. Also. Jason Tagmeyer from Button Shy. That was my first game that I had published outside of something that I published myself. That was Stew. It's one of his wall of games. It's pretty much what Button Shy is known for. But beyond him just publishing my game, I sort of admire the process that he's done or taken, or the road that he's taken. He's sort of a pioneer in the sense that he sort of just did it his own way. He's just going to make these wallet games. He has his subscription services and his Patreon, and all the whole thing that he has going on is just really inspiring, and another what I would consider an indie designer / publisher. I like to thank some of the designers that I signed and some of the illustrators that I hired to help me. I usually do almost all of my own illustrations, but sometimes I want a certain look that I know I can't achieve, so I look elsewhere. Excuse me. As you can tell, I'm not really good at talking for a long period of time. In fact, this is fairly informal, so I'm going to get myself a drink of water right now. Take a deep breath. So yes, I'd like to thank Kelvin Nelson, who his game Character Quest Heroes, I signed it. I changed it to Stonefire, which many of you backed the crowd sale for. Darren Pepe, who did the artwork for the latest Dig Down Dwarf, fantastic artist, does a lot of art for Topps trading cards. And John Boothlet, who did the design for Siege of Sunfall. Absolutely one of my favorite games. It's a blind bluffing game. Some people are turned off by that mechanic, but excuse me, I was a huge fan of the game when I played it at Protospiel, so I was happy to sign it, and then we made a bunch of changes to it. Derek Bacon, can't beat the name Bacon, but he did the artwork for Siege of Sunfall and for Of Dungeons Deep, both of which were successful Kickstarters. I loved his style, kind of cartoony and fun. He did a lot of other illustrations for some other games, but a really good illustrator. Also, just special thanks to certain, there's a few people out there that have just been very supportive of me, especially early on at Protospiels, and I'd like to special shout out to Matt Warden and Ken Franklin, George Jaros, And pretty much I wanted a big thank you to anyone who is running protospiels. I know it's a thankless job. I've never done it myself, but I know it's a lot of hard work. And the protospiel format, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically mostly designers and then some play testers and a few publishers show up to a smaller convention hall, usually 50 to 100 people, peak when it's peaking, and we play each other's games. And if you're interested, look up Protospiel. It's an awesome thing. It used to be only 2 or 3 or 4 of them maybe, and now it's blown up. It's all over the United States. It was sort of condensed in the Midwest, but now it's everywhere. So big thank you to all those who are working behind the scenes to make Protospiels happen. Excuse me. And finally, and most importantly, I'd like to thank all of my fans. Grey Gnome Games grew its fan base very organically. We now have 500 followers on Facebook, over 3,000 on Twitter, and I'm not very good at Instagram. I'm pretty lax on posting stuff. I'm only at about 1,000 there, but my fan base is very loyal, and they've really helped Grey Gnome stay on the tracks that it's on, and I just want to give a special thank you to you. So thank you for helping Grey Gnome reach 10 years, and enjoy this little short series of photos that shows sort of the history and the things that have happened over the past 10 years, and then I'll meet you on the other side. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that slideshow. It was really fun for me to put that together, to go through a bunch of old photos and see people that I haven't seen in a while, and just sort of brought back a lot of memories for me putting it together. And I hope it gives you just a little insight as to what's been going on sort of behind the scenes for the past 10 years. But mainly why you're still here is you want to hear about the future of Grey Gnome and where I'm potentially going to be focusing my attention moving forward. So the first thing you'll notice, or some of you will notice, at the release of this video, it marks our 10-year anniversary. Will be as soon as September hits, but I'll be releasing this video a little early. I will have updated our website, so greygnome.com. Has changed. Prior, it was more of a sterile kind of a website, and it was basically a storefront. When you first went there, it was just all the games and things of that nature. And I really want to start focusing more on doing designer journals and sharing the process behind the scenes a little bit more with people, and just to have a place where people can go and kind of see how the games are growing organically. And I think it'll be a good resource for other designers and just people in general who are interested in seeing sort of the process that I go through. So the website's going to be more of a blog format now. There'll obviously be a list of different pages you can go to, so there'll still be the games and our print and play files through that we use, Print and Play Arcade. So there'll be links to all of that. And the other big change with the website is I'm getting rid of Indie Conquest. That's a website that I had for a while, and it basically housed resources for designers. And the main function that had was it was a place where I was giving away free art assets. So I would draw, I had about 80 illustrations on there. And those illustrations are now going to be shifted over to greygnome.com. So if you're a user of Indie Conquest, all those illustrations will now be free to download on Grey Gnome. That way everything can be in one consolidated place, and I'm not trying to keep on top of two different websites. So Indie Conquest is going to fade away. It's had its time to shine, and now you'll be able to get those free assets on thegreygnome.com. So for those of you who aren't familiar, a few years ago I started doing these black and white illustrations. They're all the same size, they're all black and white, and they're all free. You can use them for prototyping board games or books. A lot of people are using them in the For Against Darkness books. There's some are being used there, and a few other places, RPG books and stuff, but they work really well for making little card games. And the most important thing is they're free. It's my way of paying it forward. Also, they're for commercial use, so if you want to use them and whatever product you make using them you want to sell, go ahead, just as long as you use my name as give me credit as an illustrator. That's all I ask for. So outside of that, outside of the website changing, maybe you're interested in what games are coming, what games I'm working on. Well, many of you have been, many of you have been very interested in my latest game in the Tin series, game number 3, Tin Helm. It's right here in my hand, final copy. It's beautiful. I'll be doing more videos on that, playthroughs, unboxing, all that type of stuff that you're hopefully wanting to see. So that should be coming out fairly soon, within the next couple of weeks. So that's the most the top priority game right now is Tin Helm. I got to finish up the rules and get that out. Hold on one second here. Excuse me. Let me get some more water. This is very informal, as you can see. Anyways, other games that are going to be coming out, as I sort of alluded to earlier, I like to revisit Plague, which was my first game, a trick taker. The artwork has not aged well. I'd like to revamp it, do a different scoring system on it, and sort of bring it up to date. So that might be a project you'll be seeing more of in the future. I know there's a lot of Iron Helm fans. And many of you think that I've forgotten about Iron Helm. Absolutely not. Iron Helm is going to be in the forefront pretty soon here. I have some more ideas for some booster packs. Also a large expansion that I've been talking about for a while now. That'll be coming out this next year probably. And that's really about it for now for future games. But I will let you guys know of other games that I'm working on. There's quite a few that I kind of have in the works at different stages. But the next two that I really want to focus on outside of Tin Helm is a new updated Plague and some more content for Iron Helm. So hopefully that makes you guys happy. That's what I'll be focusing on. Thank you so much for sticking with me for 10 years, whether you've been here from the beginning or whether you just found out about Grey Gnome Games last week. I really appreciate your support. It's been a huge blessing to me. It's been something I can fall back on in my life. So I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much.
And there's your Switch track tokens. It's just freaking amazing. Choo choo. Trains are not as terrible as zombies. Zombies are the worst. Red rum. Hi there. Good to see you. I call that the Jason Glover. This damn train. And then print and play files that you can print, try out Train Maker, all on your lonesome. One more time. Make sure. Toot toot! Next up, Altoona!